Good morning, everyone. This is Mike. Good morning, good evening. Hey, whatever it is, Sunday evening. It's an absolutely beautiful day in Central Missouri. I hope where you're at, it was also beautiful. This is Mike the Patriot coming to you live from Central Missouri. It's approximately 6:34 p.m. on 3/28/21, and we are going live today with a special guest. Again, we're having local elections coming up very, very soon, and it's very, very important that we get control of our local elected officials, whether it's these boards or like the school board or the health boards or the city council or the mayors or whatever they are. We need to grab these back and take control of them as the people. So I've been interviewing several candidates, and today I'm introducing Amanda McLean, and she's running. What are you running for, Amanda?
A position on the Pettis County Health Center Board of Trustees.
There you go. I always get it wrong. That's why I asked. Well, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what position you're running for, what your qualifications are?
We have 3 current positions open on our local health board, which basically is the advisory board, the guiding board for our whole health center. I have lived in this county somewhere between 15 and 20 years. And I have been a nurse for 18 years. So I have a bachelor's degree in nursing. I walked my way up through the nursing world. So I've also worked in a health department in another county. So I think that I've seen the workings of a health department and decided that I had the knowledge and the base to help our local health department, and decided to run for one of the positions. And the senior population, our geriatric population, is one that's very near and dear to my heart. And they have, I feel, been unfairly mistreated in the last year, especially if they live in a nursing home and haven't been able to see their families for a year. So I decided to run to do something about it.
So let me just add one thing to the audience. As we get further along here, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them, and I'll try to, if there's a bunch of them, I'll try to follow and put the questions up so they can be answered. You were saying the nursing home, the folks in the nursing homes, the elderly were treated unfairly. What do you mean by that?
Well, when the pandemic hit, we closed down our nursing homes, especially in this area. I know there's a lot of nursing homes in this area that are finally starting to open up and allow family members to visit. But our elderly population, especially within nursing homes, almost became prisoners within their own homes, because they weren't allowed to go anywhere or have anybody come in and see them. And we know that emotional support from family does a lot, especially in our end years, for mental cognition, eating. There's a whole list of things that just having familiar faces provides to our elderly. So that's kind of what I mean by them.
I have personal experience with that. My father was in the nursing home with dementia, and he passed away a month or so ago, and nobody in the family has seen him over a year. So my mom got to Zoom with him about once a week, but other than that.
The problem with that, the problem I see with that is not only did you lose your dad a year ago, but you had to lose your dad again a month or so ago, and that's not fair. You should have been able to spend, and he would have, even with dementia, had a better quality of life in the last 10, 11 months if he could have been able to see your faces, hold your hands, kiss your mom.
Right.
I mean,
right.
There's a whole list of things that I definitely wouldn't want to be separated from my husband at this age, much less if I had been with my husband 50, 60 years. Like, that's not fair.
Just let you know that Brandy Von Holton says she's voting for you.
I
love her. She's one of the other people running. Anyways, just throw that out there.
That's great.
So we've had a heck of a year. Can you kind of just describe, and I've asked each of the candidates this that I've interviewed, why we're here now? Kind of describe this last year, what your motivation is out of everything that came out in the last year.
The last year for me has been a little tumultuous in a multitude of ways. So what started me on this is 11 months ago, the end of April, I had brain surgery. I had a tumor that I had to have removed, and my husband couldn't come with me. He had to drop me off at the front doors and come and pick me up after my 5-day hospital stay. And that was really hard for me. I have a hard time having surgery. Number one, I have some anxiety with surgery because I've had, I think, 17 now. So each one gets a little bit tougher for me. So having him separated from me and not be able to do our normal routine was hard for me. So that started me like, this is not right. There's something wrong. We never separate sick people from their family members, but because we know in the healing process, their family is important. It helps them heal faster and better. So that started me. But in the last year in our personal county, our businesses have really been almost to the point of harassed by our local health officials, according to the businesses, because they weren't doing whatever they deemed was necessary. And you never knew what they were deeming necessary because everybody was getting a different story at a different point in time. And I get that this pandemic was different than some in the past, but it still wasn't all adding up. Everything. If 1 + 1 always equals 2, I'm with you. Like if it's something we've always done and we have studies and proof that it's always worked, there's no reason to change that during the pandemic. So
we never did it with the flu or anything else.
We did some things with AIDS, but then we found out we were wrong. And when we were wrong, we admitted we were wrong. You didn't need to be quarantined from people. You didn't need to not touch people. You weren't contagious just by a touch of the hand or a shake or shake of the hand. So, I mean, when we learned that that wasn't the way we did it or the way we needed to do it, we changed. It's okay to change as part of healthcare, but we have even when the information is coming out that what we're doing is not right, we're still towing that line for some reason. And that really bothers me with the way healthcare is going. So I decided to throw my hat in the ring. I have no political aspirations whatsoever. And so this steps out of my comfort zone completely, running and putting my name on a ballot. So, but I thought it was important enough to step out of my comfort zone. Everybody says you grow most when you're uncomfortable. Yeah. So I guess I'm growing.
You know, as citizens, we need to step out of our comfort zones, and people need to step up for positions that they feel they're qualified for, like the health boards or school boards or whatnot. Because as I said when I started, we need to wrestle this thing back from the people who have been kind of manipulating everything for a long time. So there's 3 positions opened on the health board. Can you describe what the health board is, what it does, maybe some of the problems you see that maybe you can do something about?
So the health board basically oversees the management of the health center. Just like a school board, it basically has the same responsibilities as a school board. They each year have to set the tax levy up to the amount that the taxpayers have passed as the legal amount that they can pass. I think ours is like 9 cents per $100 or something like that.
And that's on the sales tax or on the property tax? Do you know?
I believe it is on the property tax. I believe,
but I just was a curiosity.
I would have to check to be sure. I've learned a lot of information about some of that stuff in the last 3 months. So I think it's the property tax, but I could be wrong on that.
Well, this time last year, the only thing I knew about the health board is they're the ones that license the restaurants. That's the only thing I knew about them, right?
Right. Well, so they oversee some sanitation guidelines with water, sewer, even there's kind of a cross section there almost with up to what DNR does. Your local health department does some stuff with water runoff and things like that. But they have to have the county commission's help in doing that, or passage of any laws or rules, or I guess ordinances is what most health departments call them, but they need the commission to do that. So they do that. They hire the administrator. They oversee the budget, budgetary expenses, different programs. They've got the WIC department. There's safe kids programs, safe cribs, safe car seats that they can get grants for it and hand out like free car seats to people in need, and portable crib. There's some of those kind of things that they do. And then they can help in some aspects with some health related things. But a lot of times I think our health department sends that to Katy Trail, and then they do vaccinations and stuff for people.
Right.
What I see a problem with our health department is transparency and communication. I am not a fan of the fact that we've had to push very, very hard, and some of us emailing multiple times to get information that by sunshine laws they have to provide after 3 days. And then I think that can be improved just with Facebook Living their board meetings. I think our website, there are whole sections of it that are under construction. The website needs redone, which would help with communication. It's very hard to navigate, the website is. So I would like to see that fixed. Hang on, did I answer your whole question, or was there another part to it?
No, just keep going. You're good.
Okay.
I might not even remember what the question was. No, I'm just feeding off what you're saying. So you said that you don't feel like the information that you had to push real hard to get information from them, sending emails, stuff that they're supposed to give us anyways. Do you think that's because of nefarious reasons or just incompetence?
I think it could be a combination of the two.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to get anybody in trouble here. Do you think it's because bureaucracy and getting involved and people, that's not my job kind of thing, or do you think it's because they just want to withhold that information?
I think sometimes they just yeah, I think sometimes they just want to they want to hold the information close to them because they don't know if they've done it legally, done it the right way, or if it's really going to tick somebody off, the information that they do have. So I think that's kind of what it is. Like, I think it may be some incompetence on one side, but then not wanting to give it out because they're not sure if what they've done is completely right. Does that even make sense?
Oh, yeah. So Amanda Kroger says it is a line item on the property tax bill. So there you go. The question's answered. Got a great audience today. And besides, if folks that are out there, if you want to ask a question, go ahead and ask it, and we'll pop it up on the screen and see if we can get an answer for it. So let's see. We talked about the sunshine laws, all that stuff. So what focusing on, okay, you get elected. What's your agenda? What are you going to change? What do you want to implement, do differently?
Okay, so I've been in healthcare for a really long time, and I've known for a really long time that our schools cannot make you vaccinate your children, and there's nothing they can do about it. There's not a law that says your kids have to be vaccinated to be in Missouri public schools. They cannot kick your kids out of school for not being vaccinated, but there's the religious exemption form to kind of make that fight a little bit easier. You fill out the form, you don't have to claim a certain religion, you give it to your school and you're good, you don't have to get the vaccine. Our health department makes it very, very difficult for our parents to get their hands on that sheet of paper that should really just be printed out, sitting in the local nurse's office inside of your school, handed to a parent when asked, filled out, turned it back into your school files it the way they're supposed to be. We make our parents come in, make an appointment within these certain hours, and then you have to watch this video that's 30 minutes long. It basically tells you you're an awful parent, you're going to kill your kid because you don't vaccinate your child. So I don't think parents should have to be. Yeah, it is a very wrong approach, and it's why very few counties use that video. Most counties, you just tell somebody you want the religious exemption form, whether it's your health department or your local school nurse, and you fill out the form and you turn it in, because that's all that's required. We require a whole jumping through hoops, and I want that to stop because there's no reason that our parents should have to jump through hoops. My kids My kids would be what you consider partially vaccinated. I pick and choose which vaccines I give my children, um, for a multitude of reasons, whether it's their health conditions, reason I just don't think they need that many, or whatever it is. And every parent needs to make that decision about their kids with their other parent if they're involved, and decide what's best for them and their families. It's not my place to push my beliefs on you.
Well,
It's
there's
just
another
not.
person. I feel like you said every parent should make that decision with their kids. There's another person involved in that. Their doctor. Their
Yeah,
doctor, not
no,
the health doctor.
absolutely.
Their parent, the doctor, and the kids should, or not the kids, but the parent, the doctor should make that decision about their kids.
Absolutely. No,
So
absolutely.
because there are cases, perfect example. My wife has a lot of allergies, and like she has milk allergy that will cause her to go into anaphylactic shock. I mean, she can't have cheese, she can't have milk, she can't have anything that has cheese or milk in it, of any kind. So it's not a tummy ache like some people say. I'm allergic to milk, I get a tummy ache. This is the real deal.
Right.
So she had a bad reaction just being around some medicine. She works at a pharmacy. Just being around some medicine, she had a bad reaction. And the pharmacist said, whatever you do, do not get this vaccination for the COVID. And then her doctor also said, look, it's not for you. It might be
You
for
know,
other people, but it's not for you. And see, everybody's individuals.
right, those are two people that, when you're not or are going to do something with your health, are two great resources to you. Our health department should be another great resource, not something that makes you feel like an awful person, that you can sit down and have that open, honest conversation with, if you so choose to. If you so choose not to, have that conversation with your doctor. If you don't want to have the conversation with your doctor, we all have a right to die from whatever we have. We don't have to do anything to treat an illness if we don't want to. I mean,
Well,
that's
we
just my
shouldn't.
opinion. Right. I mean, that's completely up to you and your doctor. The other thing I would like to see change is the transparency within the board. I think their board meetings need to be live. I think the information that the board meeting minutes should be posted to the Facebook pages and to their website 3 days after the board meetings. Our school board, I live in Smithton School District, our school board puts them on the website 3 days after. You don't have to call and ask for them. You don't have to send an email. You click a button and they're right there at your fingertips. That makes it really easy. And then you don't have sunshine law requests that you're always having to copy paper or spend time doing something. It's a one and done thing, and everybody
It
can
would take
print them if they
stress
want.
off of them.
Yeah, it actually would. So I'd like to see that. I'd also like to see our website updated. It is like 1990s style website, like
They've
hard to
changed a little.
decipher. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to navigate through to find anything, and there should be more proactive resources within our website.
Well, see, if their website was in good shape, then you could have the information about the vaccinations on the website, and a person could go to the website, and if they so choose, they could watch that video you was talking about.
I mean,
Or you
yeah,
could, I mean, just
yeah.
saying, you could have that on there. You
Oh,
could have
yeah,
that video on there, and then you could have another video on there with an opposing view.
you could. You'll never
And
get a health center to put the opposing view up, and I think that is the wrong way to approach that, because we need to be able to give people pros and cons of everything. There are pros and cons of everything. Your doctor, prior to having surgery, will sit down with you and tell you why you should have it done, but they're also going to sit there and tell you that you have a risk of dying every time you go into surgery. You can't leave that part out. I mean, you still have to give the other side. My neurosurgeon wasn't very happy when I found out I had a brain tumor, because I looked at it and said it'd be a cold day in hell before I have brain surgery. We're not messing with my brain. And then it took a lot of talking, a lot of explaining, several appointments, and long conversations with my husband and kids before I decided to do that. But that was my health. And I had the right to die from my tumor if I so choose to die from my tumor. I don't want somebody to take that right away from me. Why would I want them to take it away from you?
right. And some people choose not to fight with their
Yeah.
cancers and stuff like that. And they should have the right. The former president, he signed an executive order or passed a bill. I don't remember which it was. It was called Right to Try. which gave you the right to try experimental treatments. If everything else has failed and you've got a prognosis of you're going to die, go try the experimental stuff.
Absolutely.
So
what's it hurt? What's it hurt? I mean, you're dying. That was kind of my I'm a very realistic person. I'd had a lot of surgeries and I was not willing at that point, partly because of the type of tumor I had and the way it was changing my mental cognition and some of my mental health. I wasn't willing to try it. It took a long time to convince me. And I mean, I don't know. I felt like I would have been better off not trying. Now that I did try, I had the exact opposite outcome, and they were very right. It was the best thing to do for me. But it took a while to convince me of that. And I think everybody has a right to say no and a right to say yes when that time is right for them.
So freedom, liberty.
I'm all about freedom and liberty. I don't want to lose any more of mine. I don't want you to lose any more of yours.
Absolutely. So we got a question on the board here. John wants to know, how long will it take after the election how long will it take after the election can the mask order be terminated?
So the election is on April the 6th. The April board meeting is April the 1st. The board meeting the first Thursday in May is the first Thursday in every month is the board meeting at 4:45. So May with new members, if you get 3 new members, I say it'll be your May board meeting. If you only get one of us, I don't know when that'll be. If you get 2 of us, I don't know when that'll be because we're fighting an uphill battle with the board we have currently.
Okay, I know a couple of people are watching who know who the 4 candidates that you guys are kind of all together with. And so I'm going to ask you to put that in the comments, the names of the 4 candidates so people can see them. I know you're out there and you can do that for me. So while we're on the subject, we were talking about vaccines and stuff, and some current news just popped up that I think people will find interesting. So this is out of New York City. Now take a look at this. It says New York will officially begin requiring vaccine passports on April 2nd. And I got the gist of it right here. Hold on, let me change my screen so I can read that. Similar to mobile airline boarding passes, individuals will be able to either print out their passes or store them on their smartphones using Excelsior Pass, which is the company. Set in a pass release about the program. Each pass will have a secured QR code which participating businesses and venues can scan using a companion app to verify proof of COVID-19 negative test results or proof of vaccination. What do you think about that idea?
Let me choose my words because the only thing that comes to my mind is like a rant full of cuss words. I don't know when the state decided that the federal and state enacted HIPAA laws were no longer a thing. You have no right to any medical information about me as an individual without me giving you consent to have it. Sorry, I'm not going to consent for you to have my medical information. We need a big benefactor to sue the state, and those states will stop that. But it's going to take somebody with a lot of money that's willing to fight that HIPAA fight and say, no, you can't do this. No, you can't have my medical information. And no, you cannot deny me right because of my medical information. It's all protected information under the HIPAA laws. I don't know when liberals decided it was okay that you had a right to know every last thing about me.
Well, it was the liberals that put the HIPAA laws in place.
Yeah, and now they
were all about laws. That. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? So on that note, one more news article broke shortly after that one. You'll love this one even the more. And it says, Biden regime developing a vaccine passports America must have to engage in commerce. That was in several different articles about that before I even thought about bringing it on. So now it's not just the state of New York, but across the United States.
Yeah, the federal government, typically, if somebody's going to break their own laws, it seems like the federal government will go right for that. So
here's Somebody says, I'm a consumer. If the airlines don't want me as their customer, I won't use them. They're talking
Yeah.
about that, and that's fine. The problem is that if the government says they have to, then they have to.
Then they have to. That's where our hands are going to get tied. Even at a local level, I see that our hands can get pretty tied with some of this vaccine stuff if the federal government and the state government start enacting things. I'm not sure our state government's going to go here in Missouri for a vaccine passport. I can't. We have a super majority. The Republicans do. I just don't see that will happen here. I'm not going to say that some won't try. I'm not too concerned about it in the state I live in, but the other states, that just doesn't seem right. And then at a local level, those federal and state guidelines, we can't make anything less restrictive than what the federal and state government tell us we can. We can make it more like strict, I guess, but you can't make it less than what the federal and state government do. So I could see your hands getting pretty tied in that. And it's going to take, I think the only way that we fix that is with lawsuits, unfortunately.
There's lots of political comments popping up. I don't want to get into too much of the national politics on this that you have no control over. Keep us focused on the Pettis County Health Board. But any other thoughts? And while we're out here, has anybody got any questions for Amanda? Go ahead and ask them now. Anything you want to ask pertaining to this subject. But any further thoughts, any parting thoughts, anything that you want to add? Why should we go vote for you? I am
I'm a pretty open person, especially with some of the struggles that I've had related to healthcare. I've seen it from the inside and the outside. So I will always listen to you and want you to have your healthcare rights. But I also want people to know that our health center can be so much more than what it is. I think there are programs and grants that we don't go for because they take more time. They take a little bit more money as far as auditing processes and stuff. And we're not at this point willing to do that. So we turn it over to somebody else that it may not come to the public in a free way like it would through a health center. So I will always be there to fight for you. I also think that we need a grant writer within our health center. It still boggles my mind that we don't have an actual grant writer for our health department. So I think that's something that we need because there's a lot of money out there. There's a lot of money out there right now in federal and state grants for COVID related things, but there's also a lot of money out there for other things. Grants are hard to get, but if you have a good grant writer, they're not that hard to get. So I think that there are some things that we can do to improve our health center, but I also think that it will be more transparent and the communication will be there with the public if three of the four of us were to get on the board. So, and I definitely want to be one of those 3 of 4 people because I do think I have a unique set of circumstances. I have seen a well-run health center, not saying that they didn't overstep their rights to that health center this year in some of the things they did, but they also have already lifted their mask order and their mask rule or whatever they called it, ordinance. I don't know. They've already lifted it. And we're still waiting on something with 15 active cases. And I can't fathom what we're waiting on.
Well, yeah. You talked about some programs. They said they turned programs over to someone else. When you're talking about the grants, not getting the grants, turn the programs over to something. What did you mean by that?
So there's different levels of audits. There's a level 1 audit, a level 2 audit, and I think a level 3 audit. And with certain grants, you have to do certain types of audits so that the state and federal government know that you're spending the money the exact way that you're supposed to be spending them. And the more restrictions there are on those grants, the higher level of audit you have to be. Like a level 1 audit, I do believe is the highest level of audit for within a health department. So I know in the last board meeting, I went to a couple board meetings now, And in the last one, we turned over from the health department a huge grant. I don't remember the number. I don't have the number in front of me, to Katy Trail for them to do that, because they have to do level 1 audits because of how big they are, the amount of money they take in, grants that they take in. They already do those and they already set up for it. We decided not to do that and have Katy Trail do the grant instead of the health department doing it and going ahead and doing a level 1 audit. And sometimes you have to put out a little bit more money to bring a massive amount more money in. And I know sometimes that's going to take more manpower, but through those grants, sometimes you can even hire people to administer those grants. There actually are positions that you can hire to administer the grants. So you would have the money to pay another person to help administer it. And it helps the community and the health department more than what was. Does that make sense? Kind of the way I explained it?
So that if the health center got that program, then they would be providing that to the people who needed it. Let's say CPR training, just off the top of my head, and then they would be able to hire an instructor, and they would be able to hold classes. And maybe if there is a fee, it's nominal.
Right.
And they could even, if cases of some people that are low income or something, that maybe they can grant them in. Whereas if you send it somewhere else, like Katy Trail or something, then they're going to try to turn a budget profit on it. I know they're nonprofit, but there's no such thing as nonprofit. When it comes out, everybody's trying to make a little on the top. They'll hire somebody and then turn it into more of their budget and grow themselves instead of. That's basically what you're saying. And there's lots of programs out there, which I probably have no idea about, but some people might need that service.
Right. It wasn't something like CPR. I don't even remember what it was. It may have been the homeless shelter. Actually, I think it is the new homeless shelter that's coming around. Mercy, is it Mercy Rest Stop? Mercy.
I hadn't heard about it.
It's Mercy Rest Stop. I think it's Mercy Rest Stop. And it was supposed to be like a warming shelter, but now it's going to be more like if your house burns down or you're homeless, you'll be able to stay for so many days. There's going to be like Burrell Behavioral Health is going to provide a counselor there on site for people for drug addiction and some of that kind of stuff. And the health center decided that they didn't want to deal with the amount of money and the audit, the level of audit that they had to have. So they turned that over to Katy Trail, and Katy Trail is now going to umbrella that instead of the health center umbrellaing that.
So, I mean, that's not a bad thing. It's just a different thing, right? I mean, there's
it's not a bad thing. The services are still going to be there. The services are still going to be provided to the community, but from the outside looking in and being a constituent, it seems like most of our public health services are coming from Katy Trail Community Health and not from Pettis County Health Center.
And one thing about is there's a board over that, but that's not voted on. That's appointed, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Community Health Center, where if it goes to the health center, that's voted on. Well,
that's voted on. Yes. Well, and I do believe that we have raised enough community awareness within our community that people know they have the right to vote on that every 2 years. It would be every 2 years because the positions are every 4 and half the board comes up every 4 years. So I think you would have an election every 2 years. So I think enough people, we've brought that to people's attention here that they can and should be voting on it. So I hope that changes that aspect, the election aspect of it. But I do think there are some things that sometimes maybe it's not so good to give away. Maybe we do need the elected officials to be there because then you can fire us when we're not doing what we're supposed to. You have no say over what happens at Katy Trail. It's just they're going to do what they do.
Right. So, and just to touch on what we were just talking about there, for people that aren't from our community, there's 5 trustees on the board, and there's a quirk in the Missouri law that says if you're running unopposed, it doesn't have to go on the ballot. So if someone was to retire or step down, they would appoint someone to fill that position midterm, and then that person would be the incumbent and no one would run against them. So therefore it wouldn't go on the ballot. So the board, the trustees on the board haven't really been on the ballot in years because they worked this system.
So Ann Richardson posted something the other day on her campaign page. I hate to plug her name, but she's the current person sitting on the board that's actually running for re-election. She said you voted in 01 and 05. The health center, the same day that she made that, sent me an email saying, I think you asked for this information before, and they sent me the 01 election. I haven't seen any proof we had an 05 election, but I do know in 01 there was an election.
2001, that's like 20 years. That's my son who's just raised his right hand to go in the Air Force as soon as he gets out of high school. He wasn't born yet.
Well, I think part of the reason that that's not happening is transparency and communication. Again, we've never known that you could sign up to run for the board. They don't announce when the run date is. It's not on Facebook. I've never seen it in the Sedalia Democrat when we did take the Democrat, and it's not put out there in any way for people to know. So how would you know that you could even sign up to be elected for it if there's no public service announcement that says, hey, board members are up for election, you can sign up to vote between this date and this date, which is what they're supposed to do, but they only ever posted it on a bulletin board within the health center. So you had to be going to the health center specifically looking for that specific information to even know, which technically they're abiding by the law doing it that way. They did post it, but that's a little bit, I don't even know what to call that, underhanded, shady. To do it that way. Yeah, shady, underhanded, whatever you want to call it.
Well, that's why I said it the way that I did. What they would do is if someone wanted to step down, retire, move on, whatever, they do it midterm. Just like if your congressman steps down midterm, the governor appoints that person to fill that spot, and then they have to run again, right?
Correct.
Well, a congressperson, that's a big spotlight, so someone's going to run against them,
right?
But these just kind of, it's just little town politics. Nobody's paying attention,
right?
And they've controlled this board since 2001 this way. I mean, that's 20 years. That's a lifetime of my son.
And the 2001 election on paper looks really interesting. One candidate got 2,300 votes. And then somebody got 40 votes and everybody else got 1 vote. No, they were write-ins. It's not like it didn't appear that they were actually on the ballot. It was like somebody had written them in as a write-in candidate and they each had 1 vote, except for one or two people. It looked weird on paper.
Well, yeah, that is interesting. And of course, name recognition. Somebody with a lot of name recognition runs, and somebody else. That's why I'm doing these. That's why I'm doing these lives. You can spread them around, share the information, because when they get there, they see somebody's name that's in the community, and they know that person in the community. They don't know that person's politics. They don't know that person's. They may not know that person personally, but they know the name.
Right.
And they say, okay, I'll vote for that guy. As opposed to Amanda, they've never heard of Amanda. So
right.
But now they've heard of Amanda.
We have a couple of those candidates running on this ballot. Their name is very recognizable. And if our community isn't careful, that could happen again. I really hope people are paying attention to this and know where people stand, because some of those candidates still don't want every single business open fully. They don't want our kids in school do without masks or even in class, in person schooling. So that's not okay to me. If people don't realize that, but they vote on name recognition, we could end up in that little pickle again. I hope not.
Well, I hope not too, but a lot of politics is name recognition.
Right.
It's kind of like what's the best real estate? Location.
Right. Well,
you got to get your name out there.
that '01 election, I've been here for, let me think about that for just a second. I've been here since I was 18 years old. I'll be 39 this year. So I've been here for 20 years. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of names in this town. My husband's been here. I don't give his name, his age. He might not like that. He's been here for a long time, a lot longer than I have. And they weren't recognized. It wasn't a recognizable name that got elected. It wasn't like big, like, the big names in town. It wasn't like a big name in town. So it was weird looking on paper.
Well, off-season elections, okay, off-season elections, which is what these are, intentionally, I'm like, wait a second, we just had an election. Why can't we put that on the ballot then? When you had a massive turnout. But no, we're going to do this off-season election. That's what I call them. That's my term for them. So that you get the smallest turnout as possible so that you can control it. So what we need the people to do is turn out. That's what we need.
We do. And I think April and August elections, because if I remember correctly, we vote every April, August, and November, right? Is that right?
Well, not every, but I think it's every couple of years, but we do different things each time,
Right.
So like this time we're going to do what? And why aren't we doing the city council now? No, we're going to do city council later.
Aren't they in August?
I'm not sure if they're in August or next year, but my point still, why can't we line all that up and do it all at once?
Right. Why would you want to? Number one, elections cost a lot of money. I didn't realize that every entity pays for their own portion of the election costs. So if you have 40,000 people, 40,000 registered voters, that amount, whatever it costs to run that per registered voters, everybody gets a portion of. The school district pays a portion, the health center's paying a portion, the ambulance district where the elections are being administered are paying a portion of that. I honestly thought that came out of the county clerk's budget from a state and federal level of funding. I didn't realize that was something that each individual entity has to pay their portion of. So the portion of this election is costing our health center $15,000. And I don't know what it's costing our ambulance district or our school boards that are running. So you would think combining them when there's more entities would make it a little bit more monetarily friendly for everyone involved.
You would think that would make sense, but why do that? That would
That's what private business owners think about when they're running their business, and I think that's the difference between good stewardship in government agencies as compared to privately owned businesses. It's our money in privately owned businesses. We want to do everything that we can to make the money that we can to take care of the families that depend on us and our own families. The state and local government, it's not really your money. I mean, you're writing a check off of somebody else's blank checkbook.
Yep. And I don't want to throw Nick Lestrada under the bus. He's
No.
He does a great job. And I asked him about this particular subject, and he says his hands are tied. It's the law, and he has to go by the law. So I just want to make sure that's clear.
I have no criticism of our county clerk or anything like that. It just surprised me that the way elections were paid for, I didn't realize that each entity did that. But you would think if you combine them together, even though he can't do that because of laws, that it would make more sense monetarily.
There's a whole lot of common sense coming out here right now that, we need. So I'm going to talk to the nationwide audience that watches me. In your local community, we need common sense. We need average, ordinary folks that have went to work, got to have jobs, lived their life, raised their kids, did their thing. Not these people who got out of college with political degrees to be politicians. We need regular folks with common sense, like Amanda here, throwing out some common sense stuff. And maybe we could straighten all this stuff out.
I think that's what our founders of our government actually intended for our governments to be. I don't think they intended them to be lifelong appointments or lifelong politicians. They they weren't lifelong politicians. They served their terms for however many terms, and then they went home. I'm a big fan of term limits, though, too. So, you know.
Right. Right. So, anyways, any parting, anything else you'd like to add? We've been on just over 45 minutes. So, anything else you'd like to add? What day's the election? You know, this is your opportunity to come out. Is there some place that someone wants to donate? Do you not want them to donate? Go ahead and bring that up.
I just had somebody donate to me that's going to buy some large signs. I think that a lot of people still don't realize the election is not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday. We're 9 days, and today's basically over. We're 8 days basically out from the election on April the 6th. And I still think we need to spread the word a little bit better that there's an election on April the 6th, and that Pettis County is voting for their health center for the first time in a very long time. So I'm trying to do that. Yeah. So I'm trying to do that, kind of get the word out. I'm hanging door hangers and stuff like that in some of the surrounding communities around Sedalia, our smaller communities, so that they know that we're thinking about them too. But I don't know. I don't know if I've left anything out. If somebody wanted to donate, they can contact me. I'm on Facebook. My email is my name. It's Amanda McLean, 1982 at gmail.com. Shoot me an email, and I'll definitely discuss what you think you want to donate with and see if I can do anything with it in the next 8 days. I think we're getting really close to the election. So that's where some of our problem lies with donations, is actually being able to use that money efficiently, get things printed or get banners made in a short amount of time, and then get them up and out to where they make any difference. But
there's a venue.
We have a candidate meet and greet on Tuesday, March 30th at 6 p.m. at the venue on Ohio. I think that's the only event coming up. There will be some of us on April the 3rd at Von Holton Ranch in Mora, Missouri. I will not be able to be there, but I think at least 2 of the other candidates will be there. I can't make it because of a family function. I didn't get to see my family at Christmas because my kid was quarantined. So I'm going to see my family at Easter because I haven't seen all of them in probably 6 months. So I'm going to choose family on Easter this time.
There you go. That's okay.
So
you're excused.
Thank you.
Anyways, so I know about the event. I don't know about the other one you was talking about. You said the 3rd at where was that one at?
Von Holton Ranch. Brandy Von Holton, one of the other candidates, the like-minded candidates, is having kind of a meet and greet out at her family-owned ranch in Moore, Missouri, and there's going to be some activities and maybe food. I'm not real sure because I'm not involved in it, but I know that there will be some of them out there, so that will be a good thing to go to if you want to meet some people. But I know on the 30th, Tuesday night at 6 at the venue, you will be able to ask us questions. They're going to take questions from the public, which we haven't been able to do at any of our other, at the Pachyderm meeting or at our other candidate forum that we had. So the public will actually be able to ask us questions, and I'm actually looking forward to that. There are going to be some predetermined questions, but I also know that there are going to be there's going to be public time to ask us questions, which I look forward to, and I hope we get some good hard questions to answer.
And that would be a great opportunity because there'll be time afterwards to actually go up and shake hands and get to know these people. The other folks that are running that are not in this group that's kind of working together, I've offered live. I'll interview you. I'll come right on here. I'll ask you. You might not like some of the questions I ask, but I'll interview you. But they're not interested. I'm just saying they're not interested in coming to these things. So
I've noticed that we've had some questions like, why aren't the other candidates coming? And I think it doesn't seem like there's been a whole lot of interest, but maybe that's better for me.
Well, they're probably figuring that the people that are coming to these events are not the folks are reaching out.
Like-minded.
Yeah.
Right. They're not like-minded individuals. I'm good with you not being like-minded, though, as me. I'll still answer your questions. I will still listen to you. I might not agree with you, but I will take what you say into consideration. I think when we become closed-minded, we don't do the best work for everybody. I'm okay to sit down and listen with you, but I'll tell you if I don't agree with you, and I'll tell you the reasons why I don't agree with you. I'm happy to do that on about any topic.
And I get that from all four candidates, including yourself. I get the idea that if new information came down the pipe, and you guys were all going one way, and the new information came down and said, nope, that's not working, you'd go this way. Even if, per se, new information came down and said that, you know, if you don't put a mask on, we're all going to die instantly from this thing, you'd be like, put your mask on. Right?
I mean, if
real science.
If you give me proof with true scientific studies, and we've done our due diligence as a healthcare community and our scientists healthcare community, if we've done our due diligence, I'm happy to pivot and tell you that a mask is great. I just don't think you're going to come up with that research. And everybody always points to China and Japan as for decades they've wore masks. Well, I've been to Japan a couple of times, actually. We have family over there, and they don't walk around in masks every day. They only walk around in masks
right now.
Yeah, they only walk around in masks when they're ill. If you are ill or you have a seasonal allergy that a mask will help with some of the pollen intake, they'll wear a mask then, but they don't by and large wear masks. So I call bogus on that response with that one, because I've been there and I've spent a lot of time in that country. So I know Japan. I've not been to China. I probably won't go to China in my life, but I'll go back to Japan unless we have to do vaccine passports, and then I won't go back to Japan because I won't fly.
Life more challenging. Yeah.
Yes.
Makes life more challenging. So I don't see any more questions popping up. So with that, I guess I appreciate you jumping on. I'm going to just stay. Don't hang up yet. Just stay right there. But I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to everybody. I'm going to drop you off, and we appreciate Amanda coming on. You know, folks, we got to take back our country, and I firmly believe the way that we take back our country is at the lower level. This is the AAA for the future. And I'm not saying any of these candidates have aspirations of moving up, but this is where they'll start. This is where the folks will start that will move up and maybe one day be president or Speaker of the House or something. And we need these common sense folks, these people that actually had a real job one time in their life, or maybe a business, to run our country, and not these professional politicians like we have. So I appreciate everybody jumping on. Please do me a favor. If you're new to following me, go over to a couple of the other socials. I'm on Rumble. You can follow me there. I'm on YouTube. You can follow me there. And I put a lot of stuff on Telegram. And if you're like-minded and you want to know what's going on in this world, everything that I'm researching for my normal show at 8:30 every morning, I go live on Facebook and YouTube, and I talk politics and all this stuff. And I'll talk about those vaccination things that we were just talking about tomorrow, along with some other stuff. Missouri passed some law, or the House passed the law. It's got to go to the Senate about voter ID and some other really cool stuff. So catch me tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. right here. I do appreciate everybody out there. You guys have a great day. I'm signing off. Talk to y'all later.